the end of the year right around the corner, and we are really in the throes, if already not kind of deadline for year-end planning to-do items. And welcome into the program. This is your game plan for retirement with Northwestern Ohio's resource for that common sense approach to planning that we are looking for with your money, your investments, your retirement accounts, for your financial future. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Chris McIntire, president and founder of McIntire Retirement Services. Chris, always a pleasure to have you here on the program. And as we have been talking about over the last couple shows, the end of the year right around the corner, and we are really in the throes, if already not kind of deadline for year-end planning to-do items.
Yeah, no question about it. And, we're getting some deadlines from the companies that we use as far as Roth IRA conversions, required minimum distributions, getting all those items in.
Yeah, and we've got to do those things before the end of the year, RMDs and Roth conversions. If those are on our to-do list, Chris, we may be right up against the wall here of having to get it done.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm taking a couple of notes as we're talking here. It's like a couple of things hit the back of my mind. So, need to make sure we get out to so-and-so because, we deal with Charles Schwab quite a bit, and they want all that paperwork and all that in by December the 1st. So most of us who's listening today, they say, well, let's let's get our Roth conversion done about mid part of December. Nope. These companies get overwhelmed with all the requests. So they like a December 1st deadline for the Roth conversions, for the required minimum distributions, for the qualified charitable distributions. And, we're pretty proactive at the office because we kind of, know that stuff's coming. But, if we got some newer clients and whatnot that have not done this before, they're like, oh, my goodness, they wanted in that early. And like, yep, absolutely, because it, eliminates some headaches there. So the sooner the better, typically.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have those items on your to-do list, or if maybe it's slipped your mind up to this point, this is your reminder. And Chris McIntire certainly can help and assist in getting those things executed for you and just getting that plan reviewed. So you move into 2024 with that plan in place and a good confident setting and footing for your financial progress. Give a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. Another item, Chris, that savers and investors are paying attention to and by and large trying to take advantage of, if not taking advantage of, these higher interest rates that have been available here throughout 2023, especially this last half of 2023. Seems like we have maybe hit a peak for those interest rates.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're starting to see some of the fixed rates come down a little bit as, bond yields have fallen. That's what Peter's referring to. And bond yields mean like you might be watching CNBC and they said the yield on 10-year treasuries has fallen. Okay. That means the interest rate or, the yields being paid on the ones that are already in circulation is falling as buyers and sellers buy bonds that are already in circulation. So when the bond yields fall, that means the value of the bonds are going up. If for those of you that watch the podcast here, talking with my hands like an Italian would.
What does this mean for those with debts and credit cards? Do you think that we'll see those rates come down, Chris, or is it only for those that are on the positive side of the ledger that maybe we won't be able to secure as good a rate on our savings?
Well, it's very good for those that are borrowers and indebted, or even looking for mortgage. Mortgage rates came down. I live in a neighborhood. We got a couple of realtors that live here, and I had asked them. They were walking by with their dog the other day, and she said, "Yeah, rates have come down." And all of a sudden, the phone's ringing like crazy again. People wanting to get in at some lower rates. So, and I was reading in my periodicals, the Wall Street Journal, the Bloomberg webpage and whatnot, that, a lot of the big investment banks like a Bank of America, JP Morgan, they're all predicting that interest rates will get cut then into 2024. Now, remember, they all thought that was going to be happening about right now. So, they've kind of pushed that back maybe 6 to 9 months, depending on, who you're talking to and what you're reading. So, I mean, that's probably a good thing in all reality, because it means that the inflation number is taking care of itself now through the previous interest rate debacles, and that'll help people who are bond investors. Some of those bond prices are going to come back up. So hopefully the statements of, especially conservative investors will begin to look better, because they hold probably a larger portion of bonds than an aggressive investor would. And in fact, Peter, I just bought some bonds here this week out of my portfolio for the first. I'm not a big bond investor. I'm a heavier risk taker typically, but I thought, all right, I might be able to make some changes here and, pick up some good quality stuff at a distressed price.
Of course, not a lot of people understand or know it, but the bond market is actually substantially larger than the stock market. It typically doesn't move as much, so not as exciting for the headlines. But 2022 was a very exciting year in the bond market, being that it was the worst year on record for bond performance, that side that is supposed to be more conservative. So hopefully we do see that rebound.
Yeah, you're correct in that, Peter. And, and in fact, kind of pushing 3 years of negative bond performance. And obviously we're not at the end of the year here through the recording of the show, but, been a tough year for conservative investors. And, that's why you've seen money leave and go into bank CDs and just the money market accounts. And, so here's the downside to that. A lot of those folks are going to miss that upside, when those bond prices rebound. And had that conversation many times with folks. And yep, we use a lot of money markets for the idle cash and some things like that. But, we don't abandon the current portfolios, because we just know that over the course of time, those things do come back. And, you go through an August, a September, and an October of 2023, right? 3 negative months there for stocks and essentially bond prices as well. That hasn't happened in 20 years, where we had 3 consecutive months. So, a lot of people just get flustered and say, all right, let's reinvent the wheel. And, and a lot of times that is not what you do for long-term investment success. And, I had these conversations. Well, I just can't afford to lose any more money. All right. So you want to get out at the bottom then. And look what has happened in the month of November, a very significant recovery. And, it's just the nature of things these days. Everybody reacts so fast. And, it's that instant gratitude, if you will. And, we're all sitting with an iPhone or Yahoo Finance, or you're running the business channel, and, you look at your 401k 7 times a day, and that's not the thing to do.
Chris, you mentioned that rates are expected to fall into the coming year or even months here. What does that mean for those potentially lower rates into the future versus locking in longer term rates today? For instance, a 1 year versus a 5-year CD. When I walked into my bank recently, I did see that the rate on the 5-year was actually lower than the 1 year, which was a little surprising. But what does it mean for a saver that may want to hopefully keep that higher rate that is now available for a little longer?
Yeah, and you might want to be looking at some locking in some 2 and 3 year strategies there. And again, I would probably even look back into the bond market as well, as opposed to just the straight CD piece, because, with the bonds, as bonds renew, you're going to get renewed at higher interest rates. The Federal Reserve may cut rates significantly next year. Just throwing out a theoretical example here, right? That's going to hurt your CDs, on the new issues. That's got to work its way into the bond market. It takes a lot longer for some of those changes to happen inside the bond market versus the instantaneous reaction that can happen more on the banking CD money market side.
And Chris, what do these now available higher rates, significantly higher, these are the highest rates we've seen in some 15 years or more. What does that mean for retirees who are seeking income from their portfolio?
Yeah, it's certainly an easier thing to spin off some income. It also means higher inflation, right? That's the other side to this equation. But as inflation is starting to ebb, those interest rates are probably going to stay a little bit higher for longer, I would think, because banks are, they're making more money at higher interest rates. The spreads get bigger, obviously, the bond interest payments or the bond coupons, if you will, to use some jargon, those interest rates are going up. So it's very favorable. So let's take this a step further. So let's say they start to cut interest rates next year, and maybe it's slow. It's not going to be nearly as fast as they raise them. Okay. Well, that's going to be good for bond prices. Bond prices are going to come up. That's going to be good for dividend paying stocks. Those dividend stocks will come up. Okay. And it's also going to be good for a lot of like the real estate funds, right? Those values of real estate holdings are going to go up. Things that have interest rate sensitivity that took a hit when rates were going up are going to recover as rates slow down or even begin to decrease, or hold steady is probably a better definition.
Well, to take advantage of these higher rates, ladies and gentlemen, get a jump on it and maybe look at locking in a little longer term than you may normally have done so. May be a consideration, not a recommendation, but maybe a consideration for you in your situation if you would like to enjoy the benefit of these now higher available interest rates and income rates on your savings, investments, and retirement nest egg. Give Chris McIntire a call if you'd like to see what some of those rates available are and where and how you may be able to take advantage. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. 800-868-1194. So, Chris, while the amount of income a portfolio can generate based on these higher interest rates may have crept up a little bit over the last couple years, probably still not as high as financial guru Dave Ramsey recently purported. And there was some debate about this. After the comments on his show, he found himself as the source of some mockery and some ridicule on his take on how much retirees can withdraw from their retirement savings. He was proposing an 8% withdrawal rate for cash flow would be suggested. Now, I don't want to harp too much on Dave Ramsey, but even his daughter on the program sort of kicked back on that, saying maybe a 3 to 5% would be a little bit more conservative. Chris, this has been a source of debate for a long time. How much can my retirement nest egg generate for me? And therefore, kind of putting that question in reverse engineering it, how much do I need to retire? Now, the debate be out there. You can help people figure that out. That is a big part of your process there, is really looking at what is available to generate interest and income, and then figuring out how much somebody needs to retire.
Yeah, no question about it. The Wall Street Journal just last week, Peter, had an article that the 4% rule is back, right? And that's a 4% withdrawal rate from your portfolio. And, and unfortunately, Mr. Ramsey's not a big annuity guy, because annuities have some incredible payouts right now in the interest rate world. I've got, we've got some that just brand new issue at a 60-year-old, would pay out 6.8%. It's like, all right, well, who is that not good for? Who would not want a 6.8% guaranteed payout, versus 4%? So on $1 million, the 4% rule is $40,000. Okay, on the 6.8%, out of an annuity, is $68,000. Which one would you rather have?
Yeah, more than 50% more money.
Yeah, and which one takes more money to generate $40,000? The investment portfolio or the annuity with a 6.8% payout? Okay?
Right.
And can also have the potential to increase your income and whatnot. But lots of again, nothing is perfect out there. So you don't put all your eggs in one basket. But if you're trying to create an income portfolio, please go out there to Tom Hegna's website. Listen to some of the things Tom Hegna has said. He's a huge guru in our world. And, that people that have guaranteed income actually live longer, because they don't have all of that, anxiety and whatnot. And, some great articles that he has quoted from some non-traditional, insurance places, right? You don't find, favorable articles and whatnot in every publication that's out there, right? Some of them have as much bias as our mainstream media does these days.
Yeah. But I mean, looking at that two ways is that if you've got a certain amount of money with a higher cash flow rate, you could generate more income. Or if you knew the income amount that you needed, well, if you were able to achieve a higher cash flow rate, then that means you need less of your money. Maybe you've got a pot of additional discretionary dollars left over, a little bit more of that comfort and security blanket into the future.
Yeah, no question about it. And, if you can cover those basic expenses, with Social Security, a pension, maybe an annuity piece, because you don't have a pension payment, think of the peace of mind that would give you that says, okay, hey, if the market fell another 20%, I got the basic needs met, and I did it more on a conservative side versus taking additional risk. And, I was having this conversation this week with somebody that I hope we get to do some business with. And he said, if I get this part taken care of, I don't have to be so conservative on my investment piece. I could probably try and go for a little bit of longer term growth here instead of having to be so cautious. It's like, exactly, you're freeing up capital, not tying it up. You're tying up your investment piece. If you've got to invest a significant amount more money in stocks and bonds to create that income, then, a possibility of, look, I only need, a half of what I did on the annuity side than I did on the investment side. Which of those two frees up more dollars? It's not rocket science.
Yeah, but boils down to math, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to see the math of your financial situation, if you've never really boiled it down to that, if maybe you'd like more than just mutual fund collection and shooting for an average rate of return, but still susceptible to risk and volatility, pick up the phone, give Chris McIntire a call, take a look at what is out there and available. Take a good look at true income planning, mapping out how to bring all of those pieces together and how to efficiently and effectively leverage your dollars to create confidence in quality of life and income into and throughout retirement. 800-868-1194, the number to call for a complimentary review and retirement planning strategy session, a risk review of your current portfolio, a Social Security optimization, a tax analysis, all of these items that are so important, especially as we leave the paycheck behind, transition into retirement. You really have to have the complete picture, all of the pieces of the puzzle brought together. And Chris McIntire does that for his clients, with his clients each and every day, and then continues to review and monitors those plans on an ongoing basis and keeping his clients up to date. That's the value of McIntire Retirement Services, with offices conveniently located across Northwestern Ohio. All you need to do to be in touch, pick up the phone now, give a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. Now, Chris, another frequent event as we transition into a new calendar year is that the government adjusts certain rates and brackets and levels and contribution limits. So the good news moving into 2024 is that our contribution limits for our retirement accounts have increased yet again. If we've got the ability, we could make a little bit more progress moving into the year ahead.
Sure. Yeah. I've been telling folks, look, there's even a little bit more additional tax planning that you'll be able to do in 2024. The standard deduction goes up like 5.4%, and so do all the income tax brackets as well. So, it's going to be an exciting year there for a lot of folks to do some tax planning and obviously some additional retirement saving as well, Peter.
And those, the brackets, the limits and limitations on how much we can take advantage of those retirement accounts, those qualified accounts, all of those, Chris, are things that are important for us to know and be aware of to make the most out of each and every opportunity that we have to plan for our financial future. We'll thank ourselves later for paying attention now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we try to encourage people to be a little bit more proactive here. And, with our clients, it's paying off here quite a bit. They're going to see their accountants late in the year and saying, look, we're in the 12% tax bracket now. Do we have any money remaining that we can take out at the 12% tax bracket? We think that's a very fair rate to pay. 22% is the next bracket. So why not? It's probably not going to get any cheaper than 12, I would assume.
Well, Chris, already law on the books as it stands today, if nothing else is done, that 12% bracket becomes 15 in just a few years. And that is not a 3% tax increase, by the way. That is a 25% larger bill on the dollars that fall in that bracket, right?
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, you're talking a significant increase going from 12 to 22. And, if you're in the 22, the next one is what is it, 25. So, that one's not nearly as big, but I think the ideal sweet spot for the folks listening today that are retired, and they don't need the $150,000 that they were earning, for example, and above. So this year, if you take it's roughly $90,000 in income, takes you to the top of the 12% tax bracket. I think it's 89,450. Let's call it 90,000. And then, you get almost $28,000 in a standard deduction. So call that 30, so 90 plus 30, hey, $120,000, is basically the top of the 12% tax bracket. That's very favorable, in my opinion, when you consider in 1986, if you had $68,400 of income, you were paying 38% on every dollar. That's insanity.
Yeah.
So that's just how low taxes have come, and people try to get them to wake up to that, because, how do you pay off $33 trillion in debt? You think the government's going to cut spending, really?
Well, Chris, it's a change in paradigm now, though. Given the history that you just provided, I think that this generation has done themselves a favor by deferring and delaying and using the traditional 401k. A lot of them are looking back in hindsight and perspective right now and sort of regretting and kicking themselves, saying, why did I not take advantage of the Roth more? Well, twofold. It has not been around for that long, but over the course of most baby boomers and retirees' careers, taxes have come down significantly. So it probably was a good thing. It's just that now's the time to change that perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is, because, I meet with people all the time that says, I'd like to retire at 62, but I'll have to pay for my own health insurance. It's like, yep. And you're going to have to draw out of your IRA to help make ends meet. And you're probably going to pay a heck of a lot more for health insurance because you don't fit into the Obamacare or Affordable Care Act, brackets where you can get a subsidy. If you had a Roth IRA, you could draw money out of that because that doesn't drive up your income, or, you could have money sitting in a savings account, for example, where you could live off of that until you hit 65 and you transition into Medicare. So, it could be some significant savings on things you're not necessarily aware of as you're simply trying to lower your tax bill from one year to the next, and not thinking of, hey, 5 years down the road, what are my, what's the reality of, the ramifications of what I've done already.
Again, we are talking with Chris McIntire, president, founder of McIntire Retirement Services. Ladies and gentlemen, your resource for proactive planning, guidance, and investment management, retirement account planning, and planning holistically for that more confident, optimized retirement. Taking a look at Social Security, at risk, at fees, at taxes, at income, bringing it all together, healthcare, legacy, your goals first and foremost when that plan is put together. Pick up the phone, give a call, see what that difference does mean and make. Chris cares about his clients tremendously, and always puts their goals and best interest first and foremost. That's part of his fiduciary responsibility, more than just a legal requirement. It's a moral and ethical thing for Chris and his team there at McIntire Retirement Services. Offices conveniently located across Northwestern Ohio, so easy and convenient to set up a time to meet and discuss your plan and your financial future. Just call 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. 800-868-1194. And Chris, as we get toward the end of the year, oftentimes people are making resolutions to improve their outlook into the year ahead. Sometimes things as simple as saving more, spending less, addressing, creating, sticking to a budget, and just doing better with money are some of the goals. And again, these conversations can be as high level or as detailed as somebody is comfortable with. These are also things, especially if somebody is transitioning into retirement, that you discuss and bring to the forefront and help people plan around.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we encompass lots of different things, from the investment advisory piece to building that income bucket, to doing the tax planning, to assisting them with estate planning, making some Medicare healthcare referrals as well to some of our partners. So that's why we call it McIntire Retirement Services. It's not just an investment platform by any stretch of the imagination. We try to help solve a number of different issues that people have. And, sometimes that's just, lending a helping hand when somebody needs it.
And some of those other things, Chris, that may be on that bucket list is funding retirement, getting a review or getting in place life insurance or legal documents or a tax plan. All of these are conversations that you have there at McIntire Retirement Services. And where it's not your particular area, like drafting the legal documents, you do know the value and generally can discuss where and why certain ones are appropriate, and help people align themselves with qualified, experienced professionals in those areas if they do not already have those relationships, and then coordinate the efforts.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And happy to do that. And, it's really nice when you help people, solve some problems that they have. Some of the things, obviously, we get compensated on. Some of them we don't necessarily do. And, sometimes those are the most rewarding, to be honest.
And Chris, how about gifting, charitable donations? That's another big push for a lot of people this time of year. Those are also things that, while oftentimes we don't do them specifically for the tax advantage, they do have some. We don't want to miss it. And so you help people align their charitable goals and their giving and gifting and caring for family goals, along with the opportunities to do so efficiently.
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. And this is huge this time of year. If you're over the age of 70 and a half, for example, you don't have to be 73, 72, 70 and a half. This is the old school piece. You can take up to $100,000 from your IRA and pay it directly to a charity and not create a taxable event, most importantly for you, but also the charity gets to receive it, the qualified charity. So where that is very common for us is, let's say Mrs. Jones, as an example, has to take a required minimum distribution from her IRA for $10,000, to use a round number. Okay. And she says, I want to donate 5,000 of that to my church, and I need the other 5,000 for my living expenses or whatever. Okay, well, we can, type a letter up, fill out a form, and have that $5,000 paid directly to a charity that satisfies a part of her required minimum distribution. And then she takes the other piece to herself and pays the taxes on the part that she took. So, we call that a qualified charitable distribution. Very popular this time of year to, for the churches and the schools and, people that are charitably inclined to do it income tax free. Yep, you don't get to make the deduction, but remember, a deduction only helps to lower your tax bill. Taking money out of an IRA and not creating any tax is even better.
Absolutely. One of our very few opportunities in life for truly tax-free money. So if you are charitably inclined, if you are giving to churches, tithing, do it effectively. Do it in a way that not only benefits your church, your charity, your organization, but also takes full advantage of the opportunity for you to be as efficient with your money. No problem, no negative implication with doing it that way. So talk to Chris McIntire if you've got any kind of questions. If you are executing any of those strategies, if you've never heard of a qualified charitable distribution and you are age 70 and a half, getting to that time, it is one of the best financial opportunities that we have. And Chris can show you how. It's not necessarily hard, but it's one that you don't want to mess up on. Cross every T, dot every I. And for all planning needs. I mean, the end of the year is fast approaching here. We don't want to let time slip by or miss those critical opportunities to improve your financial outlook. You must have a plan together to make as much progress as possible in your financial life. And Chris McIntire puts those plans together for his clients and proactive planners, savers, and investors across Northwestern Ohio each and every day. Many have taken advantage. Many more need to. So pick up the phone now and give a call. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. 800-868-1194. Chris, it is always a pleasure to have you here on the program. We are very thankful for you.
Hey, buddy. Good to be here. I hope everybody has a good holidays out here and be nice and safe and take care. God bless.
Tune into Chris McIntire's full radio program and visit McIntireRetirementServices.com for many additional valuable resources, including other great episodes of Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McIntire. Be sure to subscribe.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.